Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting for February 24th, 2015. Our custom is to present the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance before we call the meeting officially to order. Tonight's invocation will be presented by Reverend Christopher Goss from Whole Armor of God Church, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be presented by Officer Dahlquist. Now listen to this. Officer Dahlquist has been with Cobb County Police Department for 20 years. He is assigned to Special Operations STEP program and serves in the SWAT team. But of distinction is that he is a U.S. Army veteran where he serves as a helicopter pilot. For those that wish to do so, we ask you to please stand for the invocation and pledge. Tonight's pledge is going to be assisted by the Boy Scout Troops 277 who are here from Marietta First United Church. Reverend Goss.
Note of gratitude. This evening, our Heavenly Father, we invoke your presence in thanks to all those who serve as our commissioners, from the chairman, Mr. Lee, from his family and those that also are affected by his leadership, from Ms. Cupid, Mr. Weatherford, Ms. Bureau, Mr. Ott in his presence, the county managers, and all those that make up this government of Cobb County. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for allowing us to have health, strength to do the business of Cobb County. And as we come together this evening, we acknowledge your presence. Though many may not see you, we know that you walk among us, and we thank you for that. For all the officers that patrol, all that keep the city and county safe, maybe, just maybe, in dreaming forward, we can be an example for the whole state, the whole nation, and perhaps the whole county, a country of diversity and unity and harmony and love. Thank you so much. We give you honor and praise in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Goss. Thank you, Officer Dahlquist, not only for leading us in the pledge, but for your service to our country. And thank you to the Boy Scout Troop 277 for assisting the officer. I understand that he does have a little bit of a problem every now and then with the words. The Boy Scouts of Troop 277 are with us today, as I said, from Marietta First United Church. They're working on their Citizens and Community Merit Badge. It's exciting that we have an opportunity as an elected body and adults in this community to provide an example for these scouts as to how government works on a local level. I had the privilege and honor of speaking with them a little bit earlier. And I just wanted to point out a few things to scouts. If you recall, we talked about Joanne Burrow, did we not? Someone say yes. Commissioner Weatherford, Commissioner Cupid, Commissioner Ott is out sick today. And we talked about this gentleman over here. Who is he? He's in charge of everything. Did you hear that, Mr. Ankerson?
You're in charge of everything.
In charge of everything. Absolutely perfect. We're glad you're here. We go to our, I have to remember that one. Go to our first tab. We have two items. The first item is to present a proclamation, recognize the efforts of Cobb County Police Explorers. Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you. Tonight we have an honor to present a proclamation on behalf of the commissioners to our Cobb County Police Explorer Unit. If they would come forward with their advisors, please. I think this is a good night to do this with the Boy Scout troop here. Many of you know the Explorers are an outreach of the Boy Scouts, and this is a fine example as you continue your career in scouting and in life. The Explorer program does that. The proclamation reads, the Cobb County Police Explorers were established in May of 2004, and the Explorers welcome young adults between the ages of 14 and 21 years old with the goal of preparing explorers for life challenges and encouraging those with an interest in pursuing a career in law enforcement. The Explorers place great emphasis on the development of responsibility, confidence, discipline, and the importance of integrity. Through education and training, STRIDE provide Explorers with an inside knowledge of law enforcement and its functions in the community. And as members of the Cobb County Police Explorers must demonstrate a commitment to the program, they're required to attend weekly training meetings, participate in scheduled community events, while being held to a higher standard of conduct than their peers. And in 2014, this last year, this program had 26 members participating, which provided over 3,000 hours of community service to the citizens of Cobb County. Assistance to Mount Bethel Elementary School, the Meredith Greek Festival, the North Georgia State Fair, and the Georgia Special Olympics. And whereas this group won their 6th straight Atlanta Regional Championship. That's pretty good, right? 6 straight. Won first place at the Winterfest South Regional Competition in Gatlinburg. Won the 6th straight Georgia Law Enforcement Explorer State Competition. Were recognized as National Exploring Excellence Posts by the Learning for Life National Offices for the 5th straight year, and have participated in National Law Enforcement Explorer Conference since 2008. And now the Board of Commissioners here do hereby support the Cobb County Police Explorers in their goal to educate and promote future community leaders and law enforcement officers and recognize their exemplary contributions to the citizens community of Cobb County. Congratulations, and we're very, very proud of you. Officer Higgins, if you would come forward, please, sir. Officer Higgins is one of the advisors. Why don't you tell a little bit about him and what's going on and what the future holds for us?
Well, I think that pretty much covered most of what we did last year. We're continuing this year training towards our next goal of winning our 7th straight championship. We're doing some more community service projects this year. We've actually opened up to help elderly people, other like Meals on Wheels, that kind of stuff. We're going to reach out to people and kind of assist them in that area as well. We have a lot of kids that are going to be going off to colleges. I have some that are currently in the military, and most of these peer will be graduating high school or going into their senior year. They do a really good job. They make Cobb County proud. Cobb County Police Department is very proud of them, and we're, as the advisors, are very proud of them. They do a great job every year.
Why don't you introduce the other advisors, please?
One of the other advisors is Detective Rusty Creamer, Detective Chris Ledzelter, and standing up front, this young man is the chief of our post. He's 18 years old. Oscar Escarcega goes to Osborne High School, does a really good job leading the program.
Thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause. I don't know about you, but we need a lot more people and a lot more young people like this in our world. And when I see people like this and that are committed, we all have hope for a better future. So congratulations for all your accomplishments, and we look forward to what you're going to do for our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Explorers. It's a great program in Cobb County. Item 2 on the presentations has been deferred to the March 24th meeting. This takes us to tab 2, our SunTrust Park update. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to our board. SunTrust Park update. This is area view of what the site looked like. So we have a couple of more that shows you actually all the activities that's going on this particular site. So as I was discussing with someone, it looks like a runway on this side there, but it is not. This you see where some of the the piles and drivers, the caissons are going in there on that particular site. As of to date, our stadium GMP contract to date is $145 million with $80 million spent in Cobb. Still looking forward to a final GMP somewhere in June, July time period. As of February the 13th, there's been 113 of 263 caisson drilling completed. Blasting is complete, mass grading is complete, which this site is under a full LDP. The erection of towers 1, 2, and 3, which began it was March 4th, Tower 3, and Tower 4 is coming up in April. So we have folks so they can speed up the drilling for those caissons. American Builders, How to Do Business event attracted over 250 people at the last event, which was held on February 10th at the Senior Center. Atlanta Braves held a supply diversity event at Turner Field with 400 attendees a couple of days later. To date, AB 2017 has participated in 12 business outreach, reaching over 2,100 participants and registrants. Bid package of RFQ for number 4 of the big package is due February 26th, and they will start evaluating those. We've got a lot of staff involvement. Here we see DP, Fire, Police, Sheriff, Office, Smyrna. They met with Brave Security looking at security and planning for the opening day. We also have a lot of our staff involved with plan review, looking at that, which involves the fire department and others. That's normal on any development. We also have our project manager, Heary, which is monitoring the site as by contract. And looking at that, they approve all pay apps and they review drawings and keep us informed of what's going on the site on a daily basis. But they are on site. And I, as a project manager, sign off on all of those pay apps with assistance from Steve McCullough and Judy Jones. And here we review those to make sure everything's in line. And we're on track for the spring opening of 2017. And everything is well on track for that as well. On February the 3rd, the Georgia Supreme Court heard oral arguments in bond financing of SunTrust Park. 3 challengers intervened in the bond validation. Oral arguments were presented by the attorneys on behalf of the Cobb parties. Decisions are usually issued within 1 to 5 months after the oral arguments. So that's pretty well an update on the park, SunTrust Park.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. Are there any questions from the board? Thank you, sir. Good report. Look forward to next month's report. Scouts, that might be one of the questions you get asked about Tuesday. Tab 3, Cobb County Community Development Agency. Mr. Dana Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Dana Johnson with Cobb County Community Development. We are here today to conduct the 3rd public meeting on the draft code amendments, after which we will be able to entertain consideration of a majority of these items. As a brief background, I will just kind of go through a very brief presentation on the items that are contained in this particular code package. Again, these amendments have been suggested by commissioners throughout the year, as well as some staff changes for clarity, as well as changes in state law. And the summary that we'll go through will be organized numerically. Starting off on pages 1 to 3 is the Economic Development Ordinance, extending it for an additional year. That's chapter 2-161 to 2-171. On pages 3 to 5, we have a new code creating a permitting process for commercial film enterprises. That is 2-180. On pages 5 to 6, we have a definition for a new nonprofit private club in chapter 6-1. 18-53, 18-83, and 18-98 are all changes of reference to building codes found on pages 6 and 7, while 18-358, are amendments to the blasting ordinance to bring that more in line with state regulations that can be found on pages 7 to 10 of the document. 50-258 is the noise ordinance. That's clarification on the county's existing exemption. found on page 10. On 54-59 is clarification on the maintenance of fire hydrants, found on page 10 as well. 54-96 is clarification on the fire protection system requirements, found on pages 10 and 11. 54-100 is a clarification to the definition of a licensed alarm contractor, found on page 11. 54-101 are enhancements in licensing requirements for fire alarm contractors, found on page 11 as well. And then 62-33 are changes in reference for Cobb Douglas Public Health in relation to some of their codes, found on pages 11 and 12. 70-26 to 70-37 is establishing new provisions, clarifications of, and a new fee schedule for alarm systems in the law enforcement code, found on pages 12 to 20. 83-9 is clarification on the weed control ordinance, found on page 20. 102-92 is clarification on the litter control ordinance, also found on page 20. 106-2 are modifications to the requirements for street numbering, pages 20 and 21. 106, 162 to 163 are modifications to the requirements for a new pedestrian light districts, found on page 21. 134-1, the final section is the zoning code. 134-1 is modifying the existing definition on building line. And I will note that this is the first time, and this is in this package, which will mean that this would need to come back on March 10th for a second hearing on this particular item. That can be found on page 22. 134-1 is establishing a new definition for farm and garden supply stores, page 22. 134-1 is establishing a new definition for flea market, which corresponds with the one that already exists in business license code, found on page 22. And then 134-1 is establishing a new definition for hotel suite, found on page 22. Lastly, for 134-1 is revision to the definition for townhome dwelling units attached to clarify the minimum building requirements, found on page 22 and 23. 134-121E1 is clarification on the time frame required for rejecting or deleting zoning applications on when they can reapply for consideration, page 23. 134-123B are modifications on the actions by the Planning Commission regarding recommendations that can be made and authorities regarding holding of cases, pages 23 and 24. 134-162 are amendments to the R12 to allow applications to the zoning category. The same thing on 134-162 for the RA4. 134-162 are for clarifications on the suburban condo regarding the types of residential uses that can be built there, pages 24 and 25. 134-162 is the RA6 code allowing zoning applications to that category, found on page 25. 134-162 are clarifications on the residential senior living code regarding the age of tenants that can live there so that it is corresponding with federal fair housing law, page 25. I am not going to read this entire list to you for your sake, but these are all the clarification references for outdoor storage, and I'll say that it is every single zoning category found in the code, 193 through 224. Amendments to R12 to allow applications for the zoning category, again, is repeated, found on page 27. 134-201 are amendments to the RA4 to allow applications to this zoning category, found on page 28. 134-201.1 are amendments to incorporate a maximum impervious surface in planned residential developments, found on page 29. 134-201.3 are clarifications on the types of homes allowed in the SC district, 29 and 30. Again, RA6 to be allowed to be used as an infill housing category, page 30. Hotel suite definition, which was previously in separate zoning categories, is being deleted, and that is 215 through 228. And then addition of accessory uses into the OS category, found on page 37. Removal of group homes from the OS category is 37 and 38. 134-267 is clarification that height regulations for fences and walls are the same, page 40. 134-271 is establishing new impervious surface limits for religious facilities so that they are treated similar to other assembly uses, found on pages 40 and 41. 134-272 is to remove the requirements for slups in order to allow people to park on a roof of a structure, found on page 41. 134-228 is to is an alteration to the parking requirements for light automotive repair establishments to clarify that all on-site vehicles are to be placed in parking spaces that meet the parking requirements found on page 41. 134-273 is a revision to the language regarding the fall zone requirements for cell towers found on page 41 and 42. 134-331 are additional language to prohibit wall signage through creative window design, page 42. 134-316A3 are clarification that a zoning administrator can extend temporary signs for individuals that are impacted by county transportation projects, page 42. 134-372 are alterations of the sign permit requirements to clarify that drive-thru restaurants and car wash menu boards are regulated in the same manner, page 42. With that, I would ask that you please open the final public hearing on the majority of these codes except for the one previously mentioned. With that, after that, we'll answer any questions or comments the board might have, and then we'll provide you the opportunity to consider any of these changes.
Thank you, Daniel. At this point, we'll open the public hearing to solicit comment and input on the amendments to the chapters as presented. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak on the code amendments recommendations, please come forward at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. I'm Doug Davis, president of the East Cobb Civic Association. I would like to address the RA6 amendments on page 25 and 30. And I asked, why do we need RA6 when we have RA5? And possibly we're considering reactivating RA4. Let's remember, we can still zone, you can still zone a development RA6, a large land RA6. The only thing is a developer cannot request RA6, but you can still zone a development RA6. Well, what's going to happen when a developer can request an RA6? What he's going to do, he's going to get a lot size only 800 square feet less than RA5, but he's going to get 1 more unit per acre. He's going to get 6 versus 5. He's also going to get an increase in an impervious surface area, 45 versus 40. This zoning will be used as an infill developments on small parcels of land that is underutilized land that has not been developed for a reason. The most common reason is stormwater issues. This may not be a concern for districts that have lots of undeveloped land. Developers are not looking at these small parcels of land that have development challenges. However, as the county grows and large parcels are not available, developers will start looking at these small parcels of land. I'm not asking the commissioners that are dealing with the infill developments today. I'm asking commissioners that will have to deal with infill developments in the future to consider what they want their districts to look like in the future. The ECCA is opposed to the RA6 amendments. It will be too much on too little. But if you must pass the RA6 amendments, we recommend that you reduce the impervious surface from 45% to 40%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jill Flam. I'm Vice President for East Cobb Civic Association, and I'm here to speak on 2 additional code amendments. With regard to Section 134-123, Section B, page 23, Action by Planning Commission, we recommend that the last sentence be changed to read, considered, voted on, and moved forward to the BOC at the next available Planning Commission meeting for clarification purposes of what action the Planning Commission needs to take. For example, both continuances and holds must be voted on by the Planning Commission. With regard to section 134-273, item 3, page 45, antennas and towers over 35 feet in height, will the engineer's report and/or drawing of the cell tower be reviewed by the county consultant along with the rest of the applicant's proposal? Also, we still have not been able to find out under what conditions the cell tower breaks. Do these include base defects, fire, as well as wind and metal failure? We would like to have those things looked at prior to moving cell towers closer to structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm the new District Commissioner. My name is Craig Harfoot. And anyhow, I definitely think you don't need RA6. You don't need RA5, and you don't need a lot of the other higher densities. Since you've been in office as a commissioner, Mr. Chairman, and a chairman, we've went higher density, we got more people, we had the downturn, the bubble, or whatever you want to call it. All the banks owned the properties again. And you know what? Monetizing more people in Cobb County doesn't get it done. Like your town hall last night, it didn't. The same questions keep coming up. And basically, by going higher density, you just are looking for bodies to be able to monetize against bonds and say you got a AAA rating. But you got to have viable jobs. And we got less full-time, high-paying jobs now than when you took office all those years ago. And just by building houses and density, you're digging us a grave. It's a road to disaster. And right now, even Bank of America, they got part-time employees. They're standing in line, one teller. They have cut their staff back. They don't let them work full-time. Neither do the restaurants. And a lot of them have closed around here. Even Ritter's out in my neighborhood has closed just recently. Things are not getting better. As far as college grads, I had 2 daughters that went to UGA on Hope. Jobs aren't plentiful for a lot of kids. They got to leave the state to get a good job. This is not, and last night they were talking about schools and overcrowding. You cause the overcrowding with the higher densities. You cannot fix it. And when you start trying to justify taxes to pay for students, the numbers don't work. They never will. You need to do more with less. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Seeing and hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, it's at this point where we talk a little bit about what's being presented. If we have any questions for staff or have any comments to make regarding anything we've heard to date through the public hearings before we move forward with the motion. Is there any comments from the board? Commissioner Weatherford?
A couple of questions. Just wanted to make a point. I believe we have a draft on Chapter 70 for alarm codes, and I would like to make sure that that draft is entered in the record where it primarily changes the word permit to registration, and it's already been provided to the county clerk by community development.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And then the other question I had is RA6 category that was spoken about, Mr. Johnson, is that something staff recommends? And if so, the reasoning, or where did that come from?
I think that was a recommendation that came from staff. This is ultimately a policy decision. So we leave it up to the board and your judgment and wisdom. If you think this is something that you would wish to move forward with, staff is okay either way. That is decided. The reason why this was brought forward is the change in lot size between the RA5 and the RA6 allows for a little bit more design flexibility that design flexibility. A lot of times with the infill lots, they're irregularly shaped lots where you're not going to get a kind of normal lot layout as we see in many subdivisions. That change in the lot size would provide that flexibility for the designers, but ultimately we're comfortable with whatever the wisdom of the board is.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Weatherford? Commissioner Burrow?
I would prefer to see RA6 be removed because of the density and stormwater management that was referenced earlier. And my district will be very much affected by that. I don't know if I have the support of the other commissioners to do that, but that's just my personal opinion, and I just wanted to enter that comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Cupid?
Thank you, Chairman. I have multiple questions, but with respect to RA6, I support Commissioner Weatherford's inquiry and can understand why Commissioner Burrell has some concerns. But I also understand why staff wanted us to at least take a look at modifying this particular code section. And I would like to make a recommendation that we have further discussion prior to us pulling it so we can just better understand the issues. And I also have some inquiry about whether or not a variance would facilitate us looking at a variation on lot size and if this could be accomplished other than setting an entire new zoning code.
Jane,
A minute. Thank you. Commissioner Burrow?
yeah, I just wanted to clarify too that even though it's in there, I mean, even if it were removed, it's not in there now, but at zoning hearings, we can defer to RA6 category. It's just that the applicant currently can't apply for that category.
That is correct. So the way it currently works under the current code, you would be able, we cannot take applications for it, but if you have a development that comes in at RM8 or something of that intensity, and you wanted to see it at a slightly lower intensity, you could at that time direct or ask the applicant through board discussions to consider an RA6 application during the process. They just can't
Right.
apply for it at the beginning. So that
So we
that
have
does
that
provide you
option.
the flexibility you may need.
And we have that option now, and we would still have it even if RA6 were removed
That's correct,
or
Commissioner.
not approved. Thank you.
Chairman, if I may add.
Sure, of course, please.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up, Commissioner Burrell. I wasn't aware that we have that option. Because it's still an available option, I'm supportive either way if we don't support it tonight or if we have further discussion, knowing that's still an option for commissioners.
Any other comments from the board? Commissioner Weatherford, no? Okay, I'm inclined to support Commissioner Burrow's recommendation that we do remove the revisions to the RA6 portion of the code that appears on 25. And without any further conversation or any other discussion, Commissioner Weatherford?
Just make sure you include chapter 7.
I'll get to it. So I'd like to bring forward, thank you, sir. I'd like to bring forward a motion that we approve the revisions of code amendments as presented, with the exception of deleting the recommendations for AA6 reference on page 25, that we make sure to include the revised chapter 70 text as presented, and that we the portion of the definition or portion of the code referring to the building line be pointed out that would be coming back for a last hearing on March 10th, and that all other revisions as presented and passed as revised.
Second.
Is that good for you?
Perfect, sir.
Second by Commissioner Weatherford. Any
May
other
I
comments?
ask a question before you take a vote?
Absolutely.
You referenced RA6 on page 25. I think it may have other references as well. Would you include in your motion all references to that zoning classification?
So revised. Do you agree with that as a second, Commissioner?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Commissioner Cupid, you had a comment?
Chairman, I have additional questions regarding other ordinances, but we'll
Sure.
defer to Commissioner Burrell. I believe she still has question regarding.
Okay,
those.
I'm sorry, I asked for comments and I didn't see anything, so I thought we were
Okay.
done. So go ahead, what are
Sure.
your other comments?
I'm sorry, before we move on, I saw
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I saw Commissioner Burrell's finger go up, and I don't know if you had additional discussion.
Okay, well,
for
I'll get to
RSS
her for
before
a
I
minute.
move
What are
on.
your comments?
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I have additional inquiry regarding 2 additional ordinances. One is with respect to the fall zone, which was discussed in section 134-273.
Yes, Commissioner.
There already is pending discussion based on our last zoning hearing with respect to safety of cell phone towers, of which the applicants for, the representatives for the applicant and I believe opposition wanted to do additional research regarding safety of the towers and share that with the board. I would like to defer us voting on this until we can receive their input because we may be making an ordinance change that might impact the outcome of their research.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes, Chairman, just general inquiry with respect to page 29. And bear with me one moment while I give the proper code section. This is regarding section 134-201.3, SC Suburban Condominium Residential District. And I didn't make this inquiry before, so an explanation could suffice, and I can still continue with tonight's vote. But in this code section, the word affordable is struck out of this section, and I just wanted to understand the policy justification for that.
The policy justification is that any type of housing can be built in the suburban condo, not just affordable housing. So we didn't want to restrict to just one specific type of housing.
Okay.
So it's not saying that affordable housing cannot be built in the suburban condo district code. It's just saying that it's not restricted to just that.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow.
I just wanted to make sure that your motion and second included the 54-100 fire. Or did you need to
That's
specify?
part of chapter 70. Thank you. I'm going to concur with Commissioner Cupid's recommendation. We hold 134-273 for 60 days until this cell tower case is before us is resolved. All other conditions of that motion I'd like to keep intact. Commissioner Weatherford, you okay with that?
I concur with that, sir.
Anything else, Ms.
No.
Stantz? Anything else from the board? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Appreciate it. Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, excuse me. Who is my chairman upstairs? Would you come forward, please?
Nobody wants to own up to it. Oh, there it is.
We just passed 44 pages of law changes. Thank you. We talked about that upstairs. So these 4 people here just changed your life in 44 pages worth.
That's the same that since he doesn't have schools.
That too will be discussed Tuesday nights. Tab 4, our public comment. Yes, sir. Mr.
The
Mr.
DOT announcement.
Yes, sir. I'm about ready to do that. We have our public comment. Thank you for reminding me. Our public comment at this time. I'd like to make this statement. An advertisement to hold a public hearing tonight was the purpose of considering the updates to the CCT Title VI program and policies under the 1964 Civil Rights Act was published in the Marietta Daily Journal, January 30th, 2015. Unfortunately, the agenda item to hold the public hearing was not received by the Board of Commissioners for purpose of conducting the hearing. Although this item will come back before this body in April for the purpose of public comment, We will be happy to hear any comment on the CCT Title VI program update during our public comment period, which is about to commence. At this time, do we have any speakers registered?
You have one speaker, Craig Harfoot, if you would come forward.
Good morning, or good evening, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman. My name is Craig Harfoot. I know you did a State of the County, but I'm going to do my version of the State of the County. And are we on bond life support? With less full-time, good-paying jobs than before you and Mr. Olens took office all those years ago, we built a lot of higher density projects. We had people telling you to flip houses and buy them, and the tax assessors had a good time reappraising all our property up based on all those no money down loans they made, and then they all went south. But in our local economy, and regionally and in the immediate area, we lost AT&T jobs. We lost Coke jobs. We lost Western Electric. That's a housing project now. We lost a lot of jobs at Lockheed. We lost Tyco. We lost Ford. We lost Chevy. Maybe we're going to get something back from the foreign companies. Interesting. But all we got are part-time jobs for college grads. And it's not limited to restaurants. It's Kroger. It's Publix. You want to work in a pharmacy? It's a part-time job. And you can be a college grad. You could be a certified pharmacy technician, still part-time job. Banks. I was surprised. I had a little discussion with the bank I've been banking all these years. And, they survived. They took over other banks, but now they're not allowed to hire employees. Things are not that great around here, people. And I see bigger and bigger houses being built, and I'm wondering, where's the money coming from? And here we come again. They're on the radio saying, "Oh, you can flip houses again," and I'm wondering, are the banks getting these guys to sponsoring the house flippers, or is it the local tax assessors? Because when they start doing this, that's when you reassess the property up. I'll say, hey, look at that comp, look at that comp. And these people they're the first ones that lose their property, just like that. So I have a real problem with the fact that last night in your town hall meeting, you said, well, we didn't do the pond for the Tritt property because, we didn't think we could service that money. And that was a voted on bond referendum, which is what we should do. Bond referendums are proper. But now with the Braves, you just say, oh, it's a intergovernmental agreement with the CID. And you don't let the voters vote on it. You just do it. $450 million. And yet, so here comes Johnny Isaacson and his family. They want to put all this high density on the Tritt property. And now you got to decide if that's a good idea. Well, I get a thing in the mail. They're already got their little plan going. They're trying to pre-sell this stuff and invite people to come and say, yeah, I want to live there. So they can come to your meeting and say, yeah, we want this. And after seeing all this stuff all these years in this county, I think it's a sham. I'm really disgusted. And I built my house 25 years ago. I built it with my own hands. I bought the property, no mortgage, and I'm about to retire. So, I want to live here. And I'm watching people that I know in Indian Hills that I've been helping. And they were they retired with good pensions and money, and they're running out of money. They're having hard times. I mean, these were upper echelon people, more money than I ever made. And it just goes to show that, you know, unfunded wars, we just keep coming to this thing where you cause inflation and the banks resell the property and we all get screwed. And it's all about the money, gets you elected. Who are you voting for? Your donors or us when you change these laws?
There are no other speakers, correct? I'd like to also I would like to ask, again, if there's anyone here that came to speak concerning the CCT Title VI program and policies that were advertised. If you came to speak on that, I apologize, we did not get that into the agenda, but if you have some comments you'd like to make since you've made the time to get here, we'll entertain it at this time. Scouts, this is a public hearing. This is a public comment period I spoke to you about upstairs, that if anyone has a question or comment to make to this board about anything you think is relevant, this would be your time to come forward and make that comment or that question.
All right. Got some comments.
Good evening. I was here
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to need your name for the record, please.
my name is John Badger,
Thank you, sir.
and I am here to address a problem in my community, Northampton. We have a ongoing speeding problem in our neighborhood, and some of my neighbors have reached out to local and county agencies for help solving this speeding problem. Recently, the stop sign lines and crosswalks have been repainted, but this has had little effect on the speeding problem. I am asking for the board's help to solve this problem and help maintain Northampton as a safe place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Which district do you live in? Do you know which one?
Yes, District
Commissioner
3.
Burrow is taking responsibility. Chief Hauser, will you raise your hand? Chief Hauser is the chief of police for Cobb County. If you would go back and speak with him, and then Commissioner Burrow would like to give you her card, and we'll follow up on that to make sure that it's addressed. We appreciate you coming forward and speaking. Are there any other scouts who would like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Alex Boyder. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have a question about the RA6.
Yes, sir.
So if the RA6, it cannot be applied for at the present time, but it can be like created if like an RA8 and you don't want that that density that you can bump it down to an RA6, then what's the difference from what we have now to people applying for an RA6 and then them being rejected? What's the difference?
Excellent question. Would any of the commissioners like to take that? Commissioner Weatherford?
Certainly, I see you're in the OA, so congratulations
Thank you.
on that. It would require a variance, which means they would have to come before us and we would have to approve that change instead of it being something they can apply for and get without a variance from the board.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other scouts? Thank you. That'll conclude our public comment period. It'll take us to tab 5, our consent agenda. Commissioners, I need to make a motion that we add the following non-agenda items to this agenda for consideration. Both items have been considered by county attorney and found to meet our rules concerning adding non-agenda items. The first is tab 5, item 17, to authorize and not prohibit the appeal of the Cobb County Board of Tax Assessors of Cobb County Superior Court of the decision of the Board of Equalization issued on or about January 26, 2015, to change the 2014 valuation for certain identified personal property. The second item, tab 5, item 18, to authorize the settlement of a workers' compensation claim on behalf of Pamela Sace. I'll bring that forward in the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Call the item. Motion carries 4-0. I'd now like to bring forward a motion to approve the consent agenda as revised and authorize execution of the necessary documents by the appropriate county personnel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Multiple seconds. Any comments? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Before I go any further into the rest of our evening, Dana, I regret not recognizing you and your staff, along with the community, for working so hard on the code amendments to get them to a point where we could have 3 public comment periods, very little revision, very little comment, very little. Sometimes we take it for granted that these things don't get up to us as smoothly as they are just because there's nothing going on. It's you and your staff that help with the cooperation of the building community and with the cooperation of citizens that we get to this point where we're able to have this session go. I know for a fact, when Mr. Hozak led this process, it went a whole lot longer and a lot more confused, and everything was drag on. Mr. Dana, thank you very much for your work on this. We appreciate it. That'll take us to tab 6, Transportation, Director DeMassimo.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, and County Manager. Our first item tonight is to approve the 4 most qualified firms for engineering design services of the I-285 multi-use bridge.
Thank you.
The following individuals served on the selection committee for this project: Sam Heaton, Agency Director, Public Safety; Robert Hozak, Agency Director, Community Development; Steve McCullers, Agency Director, Water Development; Michelle Swan, General Manager and CEO of the Cobb Marietta Coliseum and Exhibit Hall Authority; and Jim Wilgus, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation. Additionally, Chris Pruitt, Transportation Division Manager, Department of Transportation, served as technical advisor for the selection committee. The committee recommends the top 4 most qualified firms to be ranked in order as follows: AECOM Technical Services, Inc., T.Y. Lynn International, Michael Baker Jr., Inc., Parsons Brinkerhoff, Inc. Due to the complexity of the technical requirements, the top-ranked firms were interviewed to determine the final ranking. Once the final scope of services and fees have been negotiated, an agenda item to award a contract to the selected firm will be presented to the board. We request the Board of Commissioners approve the recommendation of the top 4 qualified firms for engineering design services of the I-285 multi-use bridge, project number E7510, and authorize negotiations for final scope of services and fees beginning with the top-ranked firm, AECOM Technical Services, Inc., utilizing selection process 1, competitive negotiations.
Thank you. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
To authorize the advertisement for and conduct of a public hearing prior to expending more than $100,000 for Department of Transportation Program Management Services to include the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program, Limited General Engineering Services, individual major infrastructure projects as necessary, and airport programs, and authorize issuance of a request for proposals to secure these services. The scope of work for this program management services contract will include program management assistance, pre-construction services, right-of-way services, and construction management services. Management services will also include limited general engineering services, major infrastructure projects that may develop over the term of the 2016 management contract as necessary, and airport programs. We request that the Board of Commissioners authorize the advertisement for and conduct of a public hearing prior to expending more than $100,000 for Department of Transportation Program Management Services to include the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program, limited general engineering services, individual major infrastructure projects as necessary, and airport programs, and further authorize issuance of a request for proposals to secure these services utilizing selection process 1, competitive negotiations.
Thank you, Director. Commissioners, I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 3, please.
To authorize the advertisement for and conduct of a public hearing prior to expending $100,000 or more to perform engineering design services for Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge pedestrian improvements, project number E7520, and authorize issuance of a request for proposals to secure these services. The Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge pedestrian improvements project will consist of the addition of pedestrian accommodations on the bridge. These improvements will allow for a safe path to link pedestrians to SunTrust Park and mixed-use development in the area. We request that the Board of Commissioners authorize the advertisement for and conduct of a public hearing prior to expending $100,000 or more to perform engineering services for Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge pedestrian improvements, project number E7520, and further authorize the issuance of a request for proposals to secure these services utilizing Selection Process 1 competitive negotiations.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Multiple seconds. Any comments?
Yes,
Call the-
Chairman.
Yes, of
Just
course.
thank you, Chairman. Just want to thank staff for your consideration of the roadways in District 4 in this particular item.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 4, please.
To approve resurfacing contract 2015-2 Local Road South with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number E9160, MIS contract number 000721. Resurfacing is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request the Board of Commissioners approve resurfacing contract 2015-2 Local Road South with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,219,958.41 for the resurfacing of county-maintained streets, project number E9160, MIS contract number 000721.
Thank you. Commissioner Cupid, most of these projects are in your district. Would you like to bring a motion forward?
And my comment applied to this particular item.
Yes,
Pardon
ma'am.
me, you're so gracious, Faye. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Yes, I would like to make a heartfelt motion to approve this particular agenda item.
Thank you. Second. There's a motion and a second. Any other comment? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Moves to item number 5, please.
To approve project number E2550-WO number 04 to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with Chatfield Contracting for drainage repairs on Lake Chimney Court. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve project number E2550-WO number 04 to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with Chatfield Contracting, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $24,565 for drainage repairs on Lake Chimney Court.
Commissioner Burrow.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 6, please.
To approve change order number 1 final to the contract with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. for construction of Old Stylesboro Road over Little Allatoona Creek Bridge Replacement, project number E1060, MIS contract number 000552. Old Stylesboro Road over Little Allatoona Creek is an approved project in the bridge rehabilitation replacement component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. with a savings to the project in the amount of $122,301.08 for construction of Old Stylesboro Road over Little Allatoona Creek Bridge replacement.
Thank you. Commissioner Weatherford.
I'd like to bring this forward in form of a motion for a savings of $122,000. Thank you so much.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Item 7, please.
To approve change order number 1 final to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. for drainage system improvements on Lake Fjord Pass, project number E2490-WO number 02. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program, and we request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc., a savings to the project in the amount of $5,393.80 for drainage system improvements on Lake Fjord Pass.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second? Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item 8.
To approve change order number 1 final to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with Butch Thompson Enterprises, Inc. for drainage system improvements on Winterset Parkway at Powers Ferry Road. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the 2013 countywide unit price contract with Butch Thompson Enterprises, Inc. with a savings to the project in the amount of $1,270 for drainage system improvements on Winterset Parkway at Powers Ferry Road.
Thank you. Commissioners, bring this forward as a form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item 9, please.
To approve change order number 1 final to the contract with D&H Construction Company, Inc. for construction of Gaden Road Sidewalk, project number E7470. Gaden Road Sidewalk is an approved school-related Safe Routes to School project in the sidewalks component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with D&H Construction Company, Inc., a savings to the project in the amount of $29,864.24 for construction of Gaden Road Sidewalk.
Thank you. Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank you personally, Mr. Massimo, for your initiative on this item, because we were able to coordinate this with activity at McEachern, and it would not have happened without your initiative, so thank you. Then a motion to approve agenda item number 9.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 10, please.
To approve an intergovernmental agreement with Cobb County School District for the construction of school zone safety and operational improvements on Post Oak Trip Road at Hightower Trail Middle School, project number E8050. Post Oak Trip Road at Hightower Trail Middle School is an approved school zone safety and operational improvements project in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve an intergovernmental agreement with Cobb County School District in a form substantially similar to the attached and as approved by the County Attorney's Office in an amount not to exceed $228,954 for the construction of school zone safety and operational improvements on Post Oak Trip Road at Hightower Trail Middle School, project number E8050, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Burrow.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 11, please.
To approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Johnson Ferry Road at Sewell Mill Road, project number D3220. Johnson Ferry Road at Sewell Mill Road is an approved intersection safety and operational improvements project in the 2005 Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company in a form substantially similar to the attached and as approved by the County Attorney's Office in an amount not to exceed $106,542 for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Johnson Ferry Road at Sewell Mill Road.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion. Any comment? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 12, please.
To approve change order number 1 final to the contract with R.J. Haney and Associates, Inc. for traffic signals Phase 1 uninterruptible power supply system installation, project number E5040. Traffic signals is an approved project in the traffic management, traffic signal timing, and planning component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. And we request that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 final to the contract with R.J. Haney and Associates, Inc. for traffic signals Phase 1 uninterruptible power supply system installation, project number E5040, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioners, I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any comment? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Before you leave, 2 questions. First of all, the arts are very important to Cobb County, not only to the Scouts, but to the community at large. It produces smarter kids. It produces a lot of other things. You have an event happening this weekend on behalf of the Strand. You want to tell us about it a little bit?
A Saturday night, there's a Dancing with the Stars event at the Strand. It'll benefit both the Strand Theater as well as the Georgia Metropolitan Dance program that's right here on the square as well, sir.
And if folks want to support that, they can do what?
They can go to the website and vote for the dancing couple of their choice, as well as purchase tickets to the event and come and enjoy.
Perfect. And on a more serious note, would you provide what you know as of this moment about what's going to happen tomorrow?
The latest weather forecast that we have indicates that starting probably around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, the weather's going to start to decline, and by around 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we're expected to have some very significant accumulation of snow. So we will be we will start tomorrow morning, and we'll go on a 24-hour shift. Starting tomorrow morning, we'll be working through the night and day the next few days, making sure that we're getting out the salt material, keeping our folks safe, working with public safety, with Parks and Rec. We have a great, as you know, team effort here, sir. It takes everybody, and everybody participates.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Takes us to tab 7, Support Services Agency. John, you have two items.
Evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and County Manager. Our first item is a supplemental agreement for the Airport Control Tower project, and it is to replace the roof on the existing building that now houses that tower. It would be removed from there, and that replacement of roof is included in the 2011 SPLOST, specifically for that purpose. We received 5 bids, and we recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve supplemental agreement number 2 to the assigned design-build contract with Moss & Associates in the amount not to exceed $43,000 for the 2011 SPLOST roof replacement project at the Cobb County Airport McCullum Field, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Okay, now I realize that this is in District 1. I also realize that I'm the Transportation Liaison. However, Commissioner Burrow is assigned to the Airport Advisory Council, so I'm going to ask Commissioner Burrow if she wouldn't bring forward a motion, please.
Thank you, sir. I bring forward a motion to approve agenda item number 1.
And I'll ask Commissioner Weatherford if he'd like to second.
Would be my honor, sir.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item 2, please, John.
Our second item is a supplemental agreement for the driver's license facility project, and this supplemental agreement contains additional site work and landscaping work at the Kennesaw site, minor floor plan changes at the county services location, as well as replacement of bad soils. It also has the inclusion of the 2011 SPLOST funds that were specific for the county services driver's license site in an amount of $295,300. And we exchange in this agenda item a portion of that funding returned to the general fund contingency. $35,414 in this change order is going to be sought as reimbursement from the State Properties Commission for the project due to the unforeseen poor soil conditions. We request the board approve supplemental agreement number 1 in the amount of $103,625 to the contract with Choate Construction Company for the driver's license facility project, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairman to execute necessary documents.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments?
I would like
Yes, sir.
quickly, do you know, could you, for my benefit, tell me and the citizens a completion date on these facilities, if approximately? Do you remember?
I believe it's in the June-July timeframe.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. That takes us to tab 8. 2 items from Community Development. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman. Dana Johnson, Cobb County Community Development. Before I start, sir, I wanted to say thank you for your kind comments, and I wanted to also mention that it's not just Community Development who works on all of the code amendments, it's every single department in Cobb County, with special thanks to our county attorney's office, who's very involved in all those issues. But thank you for those kind words, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 1 for Community Development, sir, is the consideration of adopting a resolution approving the Dobbins Air Reserve Base Joint Land Use Study. I'm going to give a very brief overview for those in the public about what this is, so people are aware of this particular initiative. A joint land use study is a collaborative process between the City of Marietta, the City of Smyrna, Cobb County, and Dobbins Air Reserve Base in order to create strategies so we can mitigate and prevent incompatibilities on base and off base in regard to military personnel, military use of airspace, and land use in surrounding the base. This in of itself has been presented to you a couple times and the documents provided. It's important to note this is not a regulatory document. It's a set of policy ideas that we can then move forward with on an individual basis to help make sure that we're keeping Dobbins an important and integral part of our community. We've approached this by trying to link specific geographic areas to some of the compatibility issues that have been identified by our consultants Matrix Design Group. So we kept a very narrow focus to ensure that the solutions and the policy directives or recommendations that are contained in there are doing so in a way to minimize the requirements for controls and policies as it relates to land use in and around the base. The development of the implementation strategy and preventing these encroachments, we think will provide the local jurisdictions, the state, and the private organizations and our military great ideas to make sure that we are tying these recommendations to the military concerns that have been expressed, as well as the community concerns that have been expressed. We have held 3 different public meetings in regard to this initiative, July 9th, October 30th, and January 22nd. In addition to that, we've had a public review period which closed on February 11th for the public to give comment on the overall draft document. And for this entire time, every single document that's been created or proffered forward has been available on the project website, www.dobbinsjalis.com, which will be deactivated after adoption by all the parties, and we will transfer this over to a county website to maintain all of these documents in perpetuity. You have been provided the 2 parts of this particular initiative, the background report, which is a lot of data analysis that shows the recommendations of this initiative, as well as the JLIS report itself, which provides the policy directives and recommendations contained therein. And this is just an example, a graphic depiction of the areas where different recommendations are provided via land use in and surrounding the base. And with that, I'll be happy to take any comments or questions from the board. And before I finish, I wanted to thank every single partner that's been actively involved in this. The city of Marietta has been fantastic. The city of Smyrna has been great. Our friends at Dobbins Air Reserve Base have been absolutely exceptional to work with, and just wanted to thank them all for their support in helping us get to this point.
Thank you, sir. Yesterday, we mentioned the possibility of taking some public comment. Do you want me to move forward on that, or?
That is your decision, sir.
Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to have a public comment on this item? Seeing the hearing on that, public hearing is closed. Dan, I have to tell you, this was brought to, what? Yeah, you're right. I got to tell you that when this was brought to us several months ago, about a year ago, and we took on we took this on as a project to move forward and try to do, because we felt it was important, as you educated, to not only to the community surrounds the base, but to the integrity of the bases itself. It was an important document that the federal government asked us to get involved with and get done. And they asked us to get it done according to their process and their procedure and the bureaucratic systems in which they put in place in order to get done a joint land use report. We gave that to you and the other planning members of the cities and the commissioners and the base and the folks that you mentioned. And you then proceeded to take a process which the federal government expected to be completed within 18 months and nailed it in 10. To include the public comments, the public hearings we had, all the input we received, to come up with a document utilizing a very superb consultant to help us get us to the point, with a report that is by far going to be set as an example and set a new height and bar for the rest of these types of studies across this country. And your leadership in this project just goes to show, when we step out of the way and let you do your job, just what can happen. And we appreciate very much your leadership. Getting this done in 10 months when the feds were expecting it to be done in 18 is a credit to you and the folks that worked with you to get this done. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for your leadership. Commissioners, I'd like to bring forward a motion that we adopt a resolution approving the Dobbins Air Reserve Base Joint Land Use Study and authorize the submittal of the resolution to the Department of Defense Office of Economic Adjustment, and authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
Is there any comments to that, Commissioner Cupid?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. I addressed this when we had a work session to review the work of this study, but would be remiss if I didn't reiterate that staff, the Matrix Design Group, and all the partners put forward an outstanding document to address not only the competitiveness of the site with respect to the technical considerations, but I was very pleased at the extensiveness of the assessment of community impact and getting them involved. So much so that in a zoning that's currently, an application, that's in District 4, I have held up this document as a model for what other organizations may want to consider when they are looking at moving into a community and know that there will be significant environmental impact. So I want to thank you for that, for all the efforts again of the Matrix Design Group, staff, and the community partners.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments, Commissioner Burrow?
Yes, I would like to echo the same. I had the fortune of attending 2 out of the 3 open house public hearings, and they were all well-attended, organized well by you and your staff, and great collaboration with the partners involved in the cities as well, Smyrna and Marietta. And I was impressed with the feedback and input that we got from the public on this. And just kudos to you and your staff and all the folks involved. And Commissioner Cupid and I also toured the base together, and that was quite an eye-opener and great experience. And, you know, Dobbins is a great asset to this community, so thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. That takes us to item 2. If you
Yes,
would.
sir. Item 2 is to conclude consideration of CP-4-11 from the 2015 Comprehensive Plan Amendment Package. Just as a brief history on this, on January 13th of 2015, the board considered the bulk of the annual comprehensive plan amendments that were considered at that meeting. During the course of that, this one item before the public hearing was heard, it was requested through the request of the owner of the property for this to be continued for additional conversations. Those conversations have occurred, and before any comments, I would ask, as is customary, for us to take public comment on this particular item, since we had not received public comment at this during the original hearing.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll open public comment for agenda item number 2 under community development as it refers to CP 4-11. Anyone wishing to speak on this, please come forward at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jill Arnold with Pursley, Freeze, and Torgrimson. I represent the property owner at 998 Veterans Memorial Highway, Mrs. Addie Mathis, in opposition to the proposed comprehensive land use plan amendment that would change the land use designation at 998 Veterans Memorial Parkway from its current industrial land use designation to medium density residential land use designation. So I'm here to respectfully request that the proposed amendment be denied. I'd also like to note that the Mableton Improvement Coalition, the neighborhood group that initially supported this land use change, has now withdrawn support for the amendment. The subject property at 998 Veterans Memorial Highway is currently zoned heavy industrial and is being used currently for industrial purposes. Specifically, the property is being used to test emergency power generators for Prime Power Services, which is a company that's been operating in Cobb County now for over 30 years. The property owner has made significant investments in the industrial use of this property and has plans to continue using this property to test emergency generators and as an educational facility to train its own technicians and outside technicians in the future. The proposed comprehensive plan amendment would be significantly detrimental to the property owner while providing no benefit to the public health, safety, and welfare. The amendment would be a taking of a valuable property right and would be unconstitutional. Therefore, we respectfully request that the proposed amendment to change the land use designation from industrial to medium density residential at 998 Veterans Memorial Highway be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other speakers specific to this point. Very specific.
Very specific. The girl's right. The lady's right. And this is jobs. This is jobs versus bodies to bond and keep taxing and spending our money to your campaign donors. It is detrimental to all of us in Cobb County to make this residential. Without more jobs, you keep losing jobs. And we need industrial. And like I said, when you take an AT&T site and change it or something over to residential, what have you got? What have you got? Nothing. You got a dead end where people are going to be priced out of their homes because they don't have jobs to pay for. Now think about that. I mean, really think about it and deny this because you're going the wrong way and you've done it for years and you need to stop. You need to stop tonight because there's no future for these kids. They're going to all have jobs if they join the military only. What other job is there? So what do you do when you join them? You start a war. Then you gotta, how do you fund the war? More inflation. So their parents are priced out of their homes. Now come on, people, get real. Know your history or you're doomed to repeat it and you will die. Because you know what? You got the same problem when you retire. No matter how much you take from us, you still got the same problem.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. What is staff's recommendation as before we open it up for discussion to the board?
Staff would recommend denial of this particular application, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Cupid, would you lead our conversation, please? This is in your district.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank the Mapleton Improvement Coalition first in my comments because that community group has been very diligent to assess the future land uses throughout Mapleton, sometimes even bordering Mapleton, to make sure that there are good patterns of development in major corridors of the district. I also want to thank the representatives for Prime Power, Attorney Doug Dillard, Attorney Jill Arnold, who spoke with us today, and also the president of Prime Power in Austell for speaking with me and letting me know of their concerns and the history with respect to this particular parcel. As was shared with Mr. Hartfoot's comments, he is correct in that this site does consider employment and has an impact on that in the district. But even more so looking at the long-range impact of this site, the president of Prime Power is looking to provide community training for jobs. So we're not just talking about a one-time impact, we're talking about long-range impact for those who have interest in this field. In light of that, in light of the Mapleton Improvement Coalition withdrawing their support for CP 411, and in light of staff's recommendation, I make a motion that we deny CP 411 from the 2015 Comprehensive Plan Amendment Package.
Thank you. There's a second. Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Good work by everyone on that item. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will take us to tab 9. This is the Board of Commissioners tab. Am I presenting this, or is Mr. Hagler presenting this, or are you presenting this? I'm presenting this? Very good. We have one item under the chair countywide, and that's to approve the appointment of the Chief Medical Examiner to approve the employment contract for the Chief Medical Examiner and to approve the extension of the interim agreements for the Associate Medical Examiners. As you know, Commissioners, we've been on a search for a new Chief Medical Examiner for some time. We've had some outstanding people apply for the position. Not only that, we had a quite an extensive group, a very qualified group, to go through the evaluation process of those candidates. And the committee has made a recommendation that we appoint to the Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Christopher Gullidge. That recommendation was concurred to by the county manager and brought to me. I concur with that recommendation. Mr. Gullidge, you're here tonight, I believe. Are you here? Thank you for being here, sir. So Commissioners, at this time, I'd like the Board of Commissioners to approve the appointment of Mr. Christopher Gullidge, MD, MS, as Chief Medical Examiner, effective March 29th, 2015, to approve a 3-year employment contract for Dr. Gullidge in a form substantially similar to that provided under separate cover, subject to final approval by the county attorney. Approved contract for the associate medical examiners to extend through March 1st, 2015, and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents. Is there a second to that motion? The second. Is there any comments or question? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Your R's. Congratulations, sir. That'll take us to tab 10, the Superior Court tab. Scouts, we have the honor today of having one of our judges, our Superior Court judges, with us today to support and present to us. I pray that you never end up in her court.
They can come visit anytime.
They can come visit anytime. It's good to have you here, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Judge Joe Grubbs, and I'm here for Superior Court. Our Chief Judge, of course, is now Steve Schuster, and he is at some kind of forum he's speaking at the Temple tonight, and said he wants you to know he does support this. Now, this started, of course, when I was Chief Judge, and we're here to ask basically that you change the name of the Circuit Defender Administrator to just the Circuit Defender. He's a lawyer. That's what he does. Number 2, that you change his grade to an A, and that he receive a salary of $125,000 a year commencing the 1st of March. As you know, the federal government federal courts require us to appoint counsel for indigent defendants who are facing time in jail. We have one of the four counties in the whole state whose actual system has been acknowledged, and we're not required to have a public defender, and you provide offices for and benefits for all their help and all their assistant attorneys and all that kind of thing. Randy Harris has been doing this for 12 years. He handles 228 private attorneys. I think that gives him a halo before he starts, but he handles them. These people handle these cases at different levels. We go all the way from first appearance hearings at 8 o'clock in the morning to death penalty, everything in between. And the different lawyers are qualified at different levels. They earn between $40 and $50 an hour, which pays all their overhead and all their expenses. It doesn't cost the county any, and of course none of them have benefits. There are 13 employers who all screen the applicants. And as time to someone a little earlier, it's interesting, sometimes Randy will say, you need to bring me this, this, and this, a verification. And he never sees them again. They go hire a lawyer. He's done a very efficient job of handling this. He is the head of a legal department. He makes grossly under what other heads of legal departments make. We think this is very reasonable. It still leaves them at the bottom. We think this is very reasonable. There is, of course, a bill in the legislature somewhere floating down there in Atlanta that could raise his salary, but he gets paid by you. He gets paid by the county. If they raise his salary, you get the money. He wouldn't get an increase. This would be everything. This includes the 3%. This includes everything, should that bill pass. And nobody knows at this point whether it's going to pass or not. I guess we'll find out. But that's what we're asking.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for the judge? Thank you. To that point, I will bring forward a motion that the Board of Commissioners authorize the reclassification of the position of Circuit Defender Administrator, grade 62, to an appointed Circuit Defender position, and authorize the appropriation of the additional funding. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Burrow. Any comments, Commissioner?
Yes, I would just like to say that I had the pleasure of touring the office and meeting with Mr. Harris last week, and I was very impressed, and I support this name change and increase.
Thank you. Mr. Harris is here. You don't really know who he is. He's a real humble person who has never pushed himself forward. So we appreciate that.
Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Judge, for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Sharon, our court administrator, thank you for being here. And of course, our circuit defender, thank you for being here. That takes us to tab 11, our second public comment. I'm sorry to wake you up. It'll take us to tab 12, appointments. We have 5 items. The first is being brought forward as a board recommendation to approve the appointment of Dan Stife as the director to the Joint Development Authority of the Cherokee County and Cobb County to a 6-year term that expires on February 28th, 2021. Is there a second? As a second, any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. The second motion is to be presented by the board as well, and is to approve appointment as a pilot member to fill the current 2-year term to the Airport Advisory Board of Cobb County Airport, McCollum Field, that expires on 10/6/2016. Commissioners, as you know, there were 3 names presented to you in your agenda item. I've asked Commissioner Burrow to bring forward a recommendation as she serves as the board liaison to the advisory board. So if Commissioner Burrow, if you would please lead our conversation.
Mr. Chairman. I would like to say, first of all, that we did have some very impressive and excellent applications, resumes to review for this position. And because of the background and expertise in not just in the pilot realm, but also the financial background of Mr. Robert Binkley, I would like to make a motion to recommend that he be appointed to serve in this position.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. I appreciate very much all the folks stepping up to volunteer for that position. The next item is number 3. Does this require a vote? No. Pardon me?
Is this your candidate?
Yes. I have 3. I don't believe they require votes.
Well, it says to approve the reappointment, so why don't we make it?
I believe the item number 3 does require.
Let's make it in the form of a motion, then, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the reappointment of Michael Patelli to the Keep Cobb Beautiful Board.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comment? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 4 is announcement, correct? Commissioner Weatherford.
Yes, I have another appointment to Keep Cobb Beautiful. Is that on the agenda tonight as well?
That's later on in item 5. We're in item 4. We have 2 announcements, sir.
Well, excuse me, I got confused.
Stick with us. We got you covered. Right here,
Thank
sir.
you. I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
At least you got your buttons straight.
You know, that's a progress.
Yes,
it really
it
is progress.
We're proud of you, sir.
Thank you so much. I'd like to announce the following appointments do not require Board of Commissioner action. Michael Durden, who is to the Heating and Air Conditioning Advisory Board. He's a reappointment, and I'd like to thank him for his continued service. And Glenn Melson to the Neighborhood Safety Commission as well.
Thank you, sir. That takes us to item 5, which does require a board vote. Mr. Weatherford.
Yes, sir. I'd like to have the board approve the appointment of Dr. James Eaton to the Keep Cobb Beautiful Board.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. That takes us to tab 13, public address. I'll start with Commissioner Burrow. Remember that ball game?
I know. Go Heels. First of all, I would like to thank the 170-plus residents that attended my town hall last Thursday night. And also a big thank you to John Hancock from Georgia DOT for updating us on the Managed Lane project, which is underway on 75 and 575. Also, thanks to the staff for taking time away from your families to attend and answer questions and concerns from District 3 residents. The Northeast Cobb Business Association will have its 2015 Business Expo on Thursday, March 26th from 4 to 7:30 p.m. at Piedmont Church, 570 Piedmont Road. The 4-H plant sale is underway, and it's at Jim Miller Park. You can order plants online and pick them up on March 21st if you go to cobbextension.com. And this Saturday at Jim Miller Park, the Marietta Metropolitan Pet Fashion Show will make its runway debut from 2 to 6 p.m. this Saturday, the 28th. This is a unique event that will benefit the Cobb County Animal Shelter, so please come out and participate. It'll be a great experience. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ma'am. Commissioner Weatherford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to, again, thank all county employees for what they've done so far with the weather and what they're going to do the next couple of days. Remind everybody to watch out for each other because we're expecting whatever they say they were expecting this time. So be careful. And good luck tomorrow as well as they go out and make sure that the roads are safe and the streets are safe. I also like to give a special commendation to the Sheriff's Office and their warrant services. You might have heard this week they had a hazardous duty warrant that they served, and they performed exemplary, and we're glad that they're safe. And it just reminds us all what our public safety officials go through every day. They're continuing in harm's way, and they deserve our respect and our thanks. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you, Chairman. I would first like to thank South Cobb Rotary, staff, several community leaders, and members for supporting me in the first address I've had regarding the state of affairs in District 4. Both meetings were very well attended, and I was energized by your participation and your continued interest and labor to make District 4 the best that it can be for all those who are there. So I would like to thank you again for your attendance and participation. I would also like to encourage all residents of Cobb to take part of our South Cobb Marketing and Branding Initiative. This is an effort that is pushed significantly by our South Cobb Redevelopment Authority and our Community Development Agency to shape perception and to help build a marketing plan to showcase the assets of South Cobb. And while it is nice to get the opinions of those that live there, certainly the area is shaped by perception of those who may not live there. And I would like to encourage everyone's participation by going online and filling out a survey at repsouthcobb.com. That is repsouthcobb.com. I would also like to thank Kiwanis of Marietta for choosing South Cobb to build a playground in honor of your organization's 100th anniversary. I had the opportunity to join you on Saturday, and it was no big thing for this organization outside of the district to consider this investment inside the district. And I shared this on Saturday, but I want to reiterate my heartfelt thanks for your investment in the children of the Matthews Boys and Girls Club by setting forth that project. The build will begin in April. Bodies are needed, so I will be referring to this project once again and asking for all of your support. Maybe we can have some Boy Scouts join us. But certainly look forward to having the community participation to make this a great asset. I would also like to share that I have a newsletter, as all the commissioners do, that goes out weekly, and it has many more events and announcements that we could not share with you today. But I encourage you to go online and sign up. For all of us, the address is cobbcounty.org/our last name. So for the District 4 newsletter, I encourage you to sign up at cobbcounty.org/Cupid. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I just have a couple of comments. First is I'd like to congratulate the state court again on their 50th anniversary this past week. That was a wonderful ceremony, and we enjoyed seeing some of the retired folks come back for that. I'd also like to thank staff for helping us out tomorrow or yesterday for my town hall as well. Any update, Director?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hankerson?
I'm going to ask Director Masboda if she come forward. The governor has declared in the storm-warned counties all state offices to close at noon tomorrow. They also have ceased to have directed that our Greta buses, which are express buses, not run tomorrow. And so then he's declared a state of emergency at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And so I'm going to ask Director DeMassimo, which we probably have also asked us not to run our express buses so we can get a consistent message out. So with that, Director, would you go ahead and?
Yes, sir. As the county manager just stated, the governor's declared a state of emergency to begin at 2 p.m. What we're doing, they have gone ahead and ceased any Greta Express bus service tomorrow. We will not run CCT Express bus service. We will run local service for as long as the conditions will permit, and we will provide the kidney dialysis patient services that we normally provide with our transit. So just as we did last year, those services will continue through the inclement weather event. We will open our TMC in the morning, 6:30 is when we'll all start up. And again, we'll have Parks and Rec, Public Safety, Communications, and the team will be working together collaboratively.
Thank you very much, Mr. County Manager. Any further?
Also, Mr. Chairman, it said we will be monitoring everything closely and we'll be communicating with you and we'll make decisions as we go along tomorrow.
Appreciate that. Is my chairman still here? Would you come forward, please? These are the items that we approved tonight on the behalf of the citizens of Cobb County. Have a great evening.
See you in the morning, 8 o'clock.
I recommend everyone be diligent in following the weather conditions and the advice given out by the professionals, but ultimately it's personal responsibility to make sure that you make the decisions that's right for your personal situation. We are adjourned. Thank you.